right, chapter 4, section 4. Almost done. There's only 5 sections in chapter 4, so we're just about there. Let's talk about just a little bit of vocab real quick. I've already mentioned what a common log was. A common log is one that has a base of 10, and also, you have the bases of E, and we'll explain that in a minute. But, of course, if you have a log, and here's an example right here where there's not a base number for that log, it is an understood 10. Okay, the next important vocab word is the natural logarithms. Natural logarithms are logarithms that have a base of E, and I've already explained to you what E was. Remember, E is 2.71 something something. It's an actual number. It's kind of like pi, where you treat it like a variable, but it's not, because it is an actual number. But these occur in sciences and in economics when you're talking about exponential growth, exponential decay. They occur naturally. They're seen naturally as a specific type of growth. That's why they're called natural logarithms. All right, and there's an example right here. A natural log is actually written with an ln. I'm going to rewrite it for you. If you see ln of x, that's actually the same thing as log base E of x, which, by the way, that's the same thing as E raised to the x. All right, so just in case you're wondering where that ln and that E come into play. All right, one of the most important formulas that we're going to talk about in this chapter is called the change of base formula. And if you have a graphing calculator, which I know a couple of you do, your TI-84s and higher, the newer ones I know for a fact, have the change of base formula already in them. And I can try to explain it to you here as we go along. But for everybody else who's just using, their regular calculators, then we have to be able to do the change of base formula, okay? And this is, I guess it's not too confusing here if you look at it, because you're going to see it's log A, log X. And so you can see from the example that the X will go on the top and the A will go on the bottom. I always like to remember this as log of the answer over log of the base. I just remember the base goes on the bottom, okay? Base bottom. That makes sense. So let's do an example here of a change of base. And we want to round to about 4 decimal places. That's usually the standard for these is to round to 4 decimal places. Now, you cannot do this without a calculator, all right? So if you need to pause the video or whatever and go grab a calculator, please do, because this is not something that you can do in your head. Logarithms are not, they don't, you don't know the ratio to do certain, the log of 17, for example. Okay, so in your calculator, what we're going to do is we're going to type in log of 17 over log of 5. Okay, and this is actually going to give us a real number, and it's gonna be an irrational number. It's going to go on for a while, so we're just going to round it to the first 4 decimal places, and if you've done it correctly, it should be 1.7604. Okay, so log of the answer, and if you remember that we talked about giving these names, this was the answer, this was the base. And if it had an equal sign, then the exponent would be on the other side. Okay, let's do B. So this one would be log of 1 divided by log of 2. And you might be surprised to know that the answer to this is 0. Okay, now we have an ln, an example with an ln. So let's keep in mind, actually, we don't have to change anything here. You don't have to change it to a logarithm or anything like that. Most of your calculators are also going to have the ln button. You may have to press second first or something like that, but whenever you see ln, these are even easier than logarithms because you don't have to do a change of base. The ln automatically has a base E. Okay, that's why it's a natural log. So all you have to do here is literally type in ln of 87 on your calculator, and it will give you the answer. So it should be 4.4659. So if you think about it, that was actually easier than your normal logarithm. Now, if you had converted it to a log first, I'll do this in blue, but just know that you don't have to do this, okay? But if you had converted it, it would be log base E 87, which means that you'd have to say log 87 over log E, which most of your calculators do have that E button, but it's always usually E raised to the X, so you'd actually have to say E to the first power. But that should give you that same answer here as what type, as typing in LM. So we shouldn't, just in case you're wondering. Okay, and then for this one, this, even though it has a radical, it's okay. We're still going to do it. It's going to be log of our base, which in this, or log of our answer, which is log 6, over log of our base, which is the square root of 12. Now, just type it in very carefully, and you should get 1.44. Okay, for those people who are using the graphing calculator, I want to walk you through, and by the way, this video is not done. We're going to do an example here in a second, even though that's the last page of notes. I still want to do an example. But I want to kind of walk you through how to do this on the graphing calculator super quick. If you hit math, and I'm hoping I do this correctly, but if you hit your math button and you scroll down, mine is actually located all the way down at A, so it goes past 9 and 0 and goes all the way down to A, but you're looking for the one that says log base. Should look something like that. If you have that feature on your calculator, then that is amazing, because when you type it in, it actually looks like a logarithm that has a base that's not 10. So that is a nice little feature. Now, I did